and welcome to episode 2 of the Curly Girl interviews. Today I am joined by a very special human. Deby Leader is the creator and owner of Buddha Bella Healing Center in Uptown Phoenix. You hold a vision for birthing a community for all. Fueled by the love from your family and friends and your unmatched devotion to the teachings. Your ultimate goal was to build a modern-day ashram here in the heart of Phoenix. You have been teaching yoga in the Valley since 2009, and your colorful life, combined with all of the wisdom you have gathered along the way, gives you the ability to lead your community from the unknown to the known and beyond. Welcome, Deby. Thank you.
Thank you,
for
Renee.
being here.
What an honor to be here. I'm so excited.
Me too. Thank you. So before we jump into the juicy stuff,
Yes.
can you share a little background on your story
Okay.
and a few headlines of your colorful journey that led you to where you are today?
Okay. So I'm Italian. I come from Italy. I was born there. My mother remarried an American and in Italy, and we moved here when I was about 11 years old. And it was a culture shock at the beginning, coming from Europe and then just completely displacing me in this new everything was a little jarring, and the beginning of my teens, so I was awkward. She threw me into a public school. I had been in boarding school with the nuns in Florence for most of my life. So when she decided to make this big leap, not only in her life, but in my brother Robbie and I's life, it was different. And that's when I realized, I've known for a long time, but particularly when I landed here in this country, I started to really feel that I was different. And not different in a way from an egoic place where I was better or worse or anything like that, but I just was always connected to source. And at that time, coming from a Catholic boarding school, I had experienced a lot of challenges with religion. And but it was instilled in me from a very, very young age. So I started to create a relationship with God that was very personal and intimate and different. And I had a lot of influence also from my dad's second wife, Gabriella. She was practicing Hindu, and she Italian, but she practiced the yoga, and she knew all about Hinduism, and she would travel to India 2 to 3 times a year. And so I hung out with her a lot. I call her one of my gurus, and she started to really influence me in the Eastern religions and teachings, and I was very drawn to that. And that's kind of the beginning of how my yoga journey started, very, very early in age. And then
you were still a teenager then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And when as a teenager here in America, I picked a treacherous path. I felt very uncomfortable in my own skin, and I felt different. I was different. And so, I started to hang out with maybe not such great people, and made some bad decisions, and experienced life fully in the world of partying. And, high school was a big party. And then that's sort of how I masked this persona of just wanting to fit in. I just wanted to fit in. And I felt like I never fit in. Even in Italy, I felt that way. So, one thing led to another, and life just was very fast. My life has always been very fast. And out of high school, I was big into fashion. So I dove into fashion and started to work for a company called Episode, and then I got shopped by Prada, and I worked in the fashion industry for a while and opened up a boutique, a Prada boutique in Boca Raton, Florida. So I moved away at a very young age, and then I fell in love a bunch of times, and always fell in love with kind of like, not the wrong guys, because everything in life is so beautiful. Even the wrong guys were my biggest teachers. And you transform, you evolve as a woman, especially. I feel like love teaches us so much. That kind of love, the intimate kind of love, the masculine and the feminine kind of love. And for me, it's been such, those have been my biggest teachers, all the men in my life. And I say all the men, I mean, I've been married a few times, divorced a few times. And at 54, I am here now, in such a beautiful place with the idea of love. And I'm content. I'm in my Santosha. I'm totally content with just being a woman. First of all, whether I'm alone or with someone, there's no more like the clinging or that tethered idea that you have to have a man in order to feel like a complete woman. So yeah, that's kind of like, I feel like I really condensed it, in all of that. I also had a few kids. I have 2 boys that are amazing young men now, and that was a journey. I lost one of the fathers of my children, passed away with alcohol, so that was a big episode in my life. There's been so many, I think we don't have time for all
we
of
might
that.
have to have a follow-up on this one.
So yeah, but we'll get to the nitty-gritty of, I feel like more of the spiritual aspect of my life. I think that's why I'm here. Maybe, I don't know why am I here.
There are many reasons why you're here. So let's talk about Buddha Bella,
Yes.
your passion project, and really what led me to you.
Mm.
So I had practiced yoga in the Valley for probably 20 years.
Yeah.
I'll tell you how I got into yoga. Not so spiritual here, but my neighbor pulls up. She's like dripping in sweat, and she is going on and on about this amazing hot yoga class that she took.
That's usually how it happens.
But the only thing that resonated with me, for full transparency, is the fact that they served Jello shots after the yoga class on Friday night. So I too at the time was very much into having a good time.
Yeah.
So I rallied my girlfriends and we went to the hot yoga studio.
Night.
And we did for many years, and that's really how I got into yoga. And over the years I've kind of ebbed and flowed, through my practice. But I would say, I stepped into Buddha Bella. I found out from one of your instructors, Marisa, that it was opening, and I was waiting, and I went to go to yoga one day and I saw the now open. And it was the first day that you guys actually opened the doors. And that was my first yoga class at Buddha Bella. So you've been open now for 3 years?
No, the hot side is going to be open for almost 4 years.
Okay, so it was 4 years ago. Right, because you had the studio on the other side.
We had the other studio. Yeah, the other part of Buddha Bella. Yep.
Yep. So let's talk a little bit about kind of the driving force behind you opening your studio. And it's a good call out because there was the existing studio. So talk a little bit about the vision and the creation there.
Yeah.
And what led you to opening the hot yoga side. And I know COVID was in there as well.
Yeah, so we opened when COVID was full blown. We opened also right after my mother passed away. My brother Robbie is my partner. And, we own restaurants here in the Valley called Tutti Santi restaurants, Italian fine dining restaurants. We've been open, the location in Phoenix next door to Buddha Bella has been open for 30 years. It's a staple here in the heart of Phoenix. And so much pride in that business, and so much pride because it's my mom's legacy. So it comes from all love and lots of dedication. My brother breathes that restaurant. It's his entire life.
It's a fantastic restaurant.
He's been dedicated to that restaurant literally all his life. So kudos to him. After my mom passed away, my mom is still to this day one of my biggest heroes, one of my biggest fans. And she was at home. She passed away at home with us, and she was ready to transition. And she said to me, she grabbed my hand and she said to me, never leave your brother, always be part of the restaurant, take care of your brother, and also live your dream. I give you permission now to do what you want to do, but never leave your brother. You know, there was always the Italian, but and so as soon as she passed, and I have to say, anybody that knows me, I work a lot. Spirit works through me, and you know, I channel a lot, and sometimes I channel so much that I have parts of my life where I'm not in my body, and so it's hard for me to recall memories very well because I'm that is really, I'm in that flow state that is just so powerful. And that's what happened when Buddha Bella started to come to fruition. It was like, found the space. I called the landlord on a whim. I didn't have 2 nickels to rub together. It was just sort of like, let's just see what happens. And the landlord, you know, knowing my mother for so many years and watching the restaurant grow and being the anchor of that plaza, felt, I think he just sort of felt obligated to sort of serve me in a way that was so sweet. And he was like, absolutely, let's do this. And he gave me 6 months to start the project and work on it. And I had to do a full reno with our own money. And at that time, my brother, Robbie, you know, was such an angel. He was like, I trust you. I trust your vision. And I trust Mom. And let's do it. And so he supported me financially, and all the money that I had, the little money that I had saved up in my life from bartending and waitressing and just being the hustle, I said, okay, I'm going all in. And we did. And this place called Buddha Bella Healing Center came to life literally in 6 months. And I basically let go of the house that I was living in, and everything that was in my house, which my house looks like a temple, right? Everything that was in my house that I've been collecting through the years, I put into Buddha Bella. And I said I wanted to feel like home when people walk through the door. And that was the beginning, which is one side of the center where we have different modalities. And we had a small shala. Shala is just a name for a yoga room, a devotional room. And it's small. It could only fit, you know, max, I think one night we got 26 people in there, mat to mat.
And a small room.
It's a very small room. And I started to do Kundalini yoga classes that were very powerful there, and sound healing, and people were receiving that energy and the teachings in such, I've never seen a community receive, I've never experienced anything like it. And it was like, my heart just cracked wide open, and I was like, okay, I'm here to serve. You know, I'm here to serve, and I get it now. You know, I get it. And it doesn't become about you anymore. It becomes about every face that you look at when you're sitting on that podium, and the connections that you make when people come up to you after class and say, this class shifted something for me, or this class made me cry, or this class made me feel worthy, or this class really fired me up and I'm angry, or just these reactions that humans have to these teachings. And I felt such an responsibility, and a spiritual responsibility, and also it was an honor to be in this space of being able to deliver them from such a clear channel, and not from a place of wanting to become something or wanting to be something for someone. I just wanted to deliver the teachings, because the teachings were doing the work. It was so evident. The reactions of the people,
reward.
And the people coming together and showing up, because it's not easy work. Yoga is not easy. The spiritual path is not easy. So it got to the point where I was like, oh, we're running out of space. And remember, we're in COVID, so people were like, this is really tight in here, and the small and the room is really small. And so the place across the way, the little cafe, closed down, and I was like, oh my goodness gracious, this is just like spirit going, you know, you have to take that space.
Here it is.
And we did. And here we go again. And so this project ended up being, you know, not to speak numbers of money, but, you know, we still live in this 3D world, and there is a currency exchange that you have to make. And it was a big one. You know, this was big investment. The room needed a complete gut job, the plumbing. It was a lot. for a studio, right? Because usually you can open a studio for $100,000 and you're good. Buddha Bella is a lot more than that, and it's been a tight squeeze of how bad
do you want it?
How bad do you want it? And I couldn't, and I have to say this, I couldn't be where I'm at today without the support of my brother Robbie and the support of the community. And I'm, if there's been moments where I'm like, I'm just going to close the doors. This is not working. It's not working financially, and I'm going to close the doors. And Spirit just keeps saying, no, you're not. And then a miracle happens within a few days, and money just shows up, or we get this big, influx of new members. And so, okay, I made payroll. Oh, okay, I made rent. Oh, okay, so, and you just keep going. And I keep rolling up my sleeves, and I keep saying thank you. And I show up with integrity and a full heart, and that's it.
I'd like to dig in and share a little bit about kind of my experience unfolding for me, but I want to go back to the modalities, because you were kind of a pioneer in Phoenix for the modalities that you introduced to the community.
Bringing them together in one specific
space. You have the sauna, you have the, but specifically, I mean, I did, started doing hot yoga. I was doing it for the workout, and let's call it, the Della shots.
Yeah.
But infrared yoga, game changer for me, physically, emotion, all of it.
Game changer.
Talk to us about what that was about.
Yeah. So, and I started I started practicing Ashtanga yoga, and then went right into Bikram, and then found Kundalini kind of in the underworld, because at that time it was very, it was kind of a hidden practice. So I just want to preface it by saying this is not, I'm not speaking down on the hot yoga communities, because hot yoga got me on this journey, right? Where I really fell in love with the practice. And Bikram was one of my biggest teachers, and love him dearly. Even though with all the controversy, I still love him. I still love the fact that he had the courage to come to this country and bring what he brought, and did it with such conviction, and made mistakes along the way, like we all do. And when you're in the public eye, I think it really gets magnified, and that's a responsibility that you have to have when you're in the public eye. And he handled it not so well, but that's okay, But to go back to the infrared yoga, I started to do research, because in North Carolina, my brother Mateo and I, which is also one of my other biggest teachers here in this life, in this incarnation, he's a yogi as well, and one of my biggest spiritual counsels. He opened up a yoga studio with his wife, Holly, in North Carolina. And then they invited me to move up there. I had just recently gone through another divorce. And so I made myself pack up and move to North Carolina for a while, just to get out of that frenetic energy that I was in here in Phoenix. And so made it there, and it was the typical studio with the 80% humidity and the pushed air, right? The heat, the pushed air with the humidity. And I'd already been practicing Bikram for years, and I started to really notice kidney weaknesses. And I'm sensitive. I'm a sensitive person. I've been this way since I was very little. So, it's always like a trial and error with me, with everything that I do. I have to see if it's good for my constitution, if it's just good for who I am. And so I was like, please, no, I don't want to start getting sick by doing hot yoga. So I started to do a little bit of research, and I started to really ask teachers that have been already teaching for a long time about the humidity and how it affects their adrenals and the kidneys, and it can be tough on the body. And then I came to realize along the way that I am highly, highly sensitive to bacteria, to mold. And so every studio that, if you're practicing at a studio that has humidity, there's mold.
And
Bottom line.
talk for a minute though, not to get off track, but just the humidity. The whole premise of the humidity was to mimic or recreate the environment of. Is this true? No, maybe not.
Of India?
Yes. Okay.
I'm gonna have to say that that's a very Americanized version. I believe that Bikram understood and the American. And again, I need to watch what I say and how I say it because of the climate that we're in. But in this country, we're extremist, and I truly believe that Bikram saw our drive, the American people, and understood it, and was like, I'm going to serve them the most extreme environment, climate, intense situation that I can, because that's what they like. And it's true. He created a movement. The teacher training, Renee, that I went to with him was 780 students.
Wow.
At $10,000 per student.
There's
for
so
a teacher
many
training.
layers there, but keep going.
Right?
Yes.
And we practiced in a tent. I have the goosebumps. In a tent in the middle of Vegas desert. In the Vegas desert. We would practice a total about 5 hours a day. And there was certain points that the tent would be 128 degrees.
Oof.
With 80% humidity. There was people falling out. Anyways, to go back to the radiant heat, like I said, I don't want to talk bad about that community because it got me to where I'm at. It is hard on the body. There's people that practice two classes a day sometimes because they become so addicted. And for me, and I can only speak for myself, it was not doing my body justice anymore. And I started to break down certain very vital organs in my body that, if your kidneys start to weaken, there's a problem. If your adrenals start to fatigue, there's a problem. You don't feel good.
Right.
And then, of course, with the sensitivity to bacteria, to mold, my gosh, I was always in bed. I was sick more than I was healthy. And so anyway, so that started a whole journey. And so my brother and I in North Carolina started to do research on the panels, on the red infrared panels. And I just fell in love with the idea. I made a phone call to this one company, and the owner and I talked. And he said, it is such a healthy heat. And the way that I perceived this was to put these panels in this room and for the student to create the humidity, right? To be able to activate and really engage your body and engage the muscles that we're tuning into for that specific posture, to not just move the body without any mind-body connection, right? Because when you're in that fight or flight, hot humidity room, you're just trying to survive the heat. Let's be real.
Yes.
Right?
Agreed.
And it takes very strong teachers like Bikram to get you in the right alignment. And that's why I loved him, was because he was so strict. But not everybody has the power to do that. You go to, they're going to look at you and go, you're the meanest teacher ever. I'm never coming back to your class.
Don't take a drink. Stay still.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yes. So when these panels came up and I started to see how I felt, I practiced in that room before we opened the door for like 2 weeks straight. I couldn't believe the aches and pains were leaving my body, how I could do the postures with so much more grace and more intention. And the sweat that was coming off my body was created by me, not by some machine that was, of course, making the room wet. So I was wet. Right. So all of these beautiful things that I started to witness, and the blossoming of, oh my gosh, this was the right choice. And then getting so many compliments of the room and how the room feels and the heat. And yes, it gets very hot. And also I have the capacity to turn down the lamps when I want. And so it's a beautiful dance. And I love the radiant heat. I'm impressed with everything about it.
It has been a game changer for me. I mean, physically, I would say about probably a year ago, I have had IT band issues,
Yeah.
and I had hurt my back. And so I was just not feeling 100%. And I've always been active, but not disciplined with any particular modality, if you
Yeah.
will. But I remember coming, and your ego, right? You want to do all the
Yeah.
poses. The person next to you is incredible, all the
Yeah.
things. And I was like, I can't even move right now. So just
I remember.
focus on just being right here on your mat. And I really had to flow through some pain, but it wasn't intolerable pain. It was feeling the heat and almost going to a mental place of come on down and heal my back. Come on down
Yeah.
and help my knee.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's where I truly started to shift from honestly kind of not liking hot yoga, but I did it, to feeling it on the inside, to leaving my mat and going out there and feeling it from within. And
Yeah.
it became truly, for me, became a spiritual practice and not a physical practice.
Yeah. And I've watched and witnessed and observed your transformation. And as a teacher, that is the biggest reward, is to see students like you blossom. When I look at you sometimes, and my flows are challenging.
It's not easy.
My classes are challenging. I look down at you on your mat sometimes, and I'm just like, wow, like you've blossomed, and I feel like you're reversing an age.
Oh, I'll take that all
I feel
day
like
long.
I feel like the lamps are good for that too.
Yes.
I swear.
Yes.
I feel like they just tighten you. I don't know. I listen, I don't know if it's scientific, or I don't even know about that, but I feel like because you're sweating in a way that is from internal.
Yes.
So you're getting rid of the
Detox.
yes, and you're getting rid of those toxins. So yes, beautiful.
What do you say? Thank you, by the way. That means a
beautiful.
lot coming from you. What do you say to people that are just like, I just can't handle the heat, or I can't? I mean, you see those students that come in for the first time.
Yeah.
And, a good teacher, sometimes when it's packed, it's hard to individually talk to, right? But I have experienced bringing someone for the first time and they're like, I just can't do it. How do you help someone with that first, second, third class to say, just stay on your mat or drop down? Like, getting started is not easy.
That's one of the things that in group classes, you sometimes there are students that you kind of, they fall through the cracks because they won't communicate with the teacher. They don't come up, they're embarrassed, or they feel intimidated by the whole room. And so group fitness classes, yoga classes, anything that's group, sometimes, yes, I can teach my teachers to be more involved and stay and spend time with the students afterwards, and also introduce themselves at the beginning of class. Say if there's any new students, we get into our grind, and sometimes we don't do that, right, as teachers, and I'm at fault as well. But my suggestion to anybody that's starting on a yoga journey, first of all, there's no such thing as I'm too stiff, I'm too rigid, I can't do yoga. That's why you want to do yoga, is to leave that frame and come into a different frame in your body, where your body does become more flexible. And that's what these postures help you do. And it's it's baby steps.
Mm-hmm.
You don't just land on your mat the first time and get to experience this like epic, mind-blowing practice, because you're just, first of all, everything is foreign. And we speak in foreign language. Like, there's a yoga conscious language that we speak as teachers, and people that are just living their regular lives that have never been on their mat look at us like, whoa, what are you saying? So my suggestion for the heat, for just feeling intimidated, for feeling a little scared, having your insecurities about what your body looks like. I have so many people that come up to me and go, when I lose 10 pounds, I'll come practice. And I'm like, no, that's not what this is about, because everybody in that room is internally going to a journey. It's an internal journey. No one is in a place of judgment in that room. And that's what makes yoga a special practice.
Agreed.
So it's not like you're looking, and yes, like you just said, yes, maybe the person next to you is doing the handstand and they're an advanced, practitioner, and you're just like, wow. And you might experience that every once in a while. But if you truly start your journey off with, I'm going in, I'm going to do the best that I can. If the heat gets to me, I'm going to lay down. And I'm not going to let the experience becomes something that it doesn't need to be this dark, intense, like
That was terrible.
scary
Yes.
experience. That is not what yoga is. And so, yes, the heat can get extreme. If you're not used to it, of course it's going to be uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
But you do get to experience transformation in those moments of discomfort. And I'm telling you, stick with it. Stick with it. Don't allow your internal dialogue to sabotage something beautiful, because it's a beautiful practice. And the more you show up, the more it blossoms, and you blossom. You become the instrument. The postures become you. And your expression of a posture might look completely different than my expression.
Our bodies are different.
I can't do handstands anymore. I have problems in my wrist. That's just not for me. And I have no desire to, right? Is there other things that I can do? Absolutely. And it's just and you start to learn about yourself, about what feels good in your body, and living in your optimized version. And that's all we want for you as teachers. That's what we want to see, and that's what we want to witness. So.
No, and I feel, I've started to incorporate weights, which
yes,
if you do any reading as a middle-aged woman, that's something that's very important.
Me too. I started lifting weights.
But I have never felt as strong as I do today, and that is from yoga. And I would say in the last probably 4 or 5 months, I have doubled down, and just that is my church every Saturday, is showing up for your class. I want to kind of zoom out a little bit. The yoga is so critical to our daily practice. And I show up to the yoga studio, but I also do it every morning in my house, as well as meditation. And it truly has transformed me. And I think part of this is slowing down and quieting my mind. I am going through a major transfer. I'm getting married. I've never been married. I left my career, all the things. And sitting in the silence, sitting in the uncomfortable, just like you do in yoga, has been really transformational for me. But what I love about Buddha Bella, one of the many, many things, is community. The community that you have created. Yeah. I don't have to say a single word to anyone in that room about my journey, nor maybe they don't even care. Yeah. But I feel the energy of a community that is grounded in connectedness, that is grounded in showing inclusive. Up. Yes. Talk to us about the importance of the community you've created.
It is my biggest gift, and I think the biggest reward, that at 54 years young, I feel like I've been blessed with this gift, and the gift of creating spaces and bringing people together through unconditional love. It's loving every single person that walks into that space with no attachments. And I know that sounds so cliche, but it's true. If you practice not being attached to an outcome, having expectations to what this person is supposed to do or look like or feel like, or if you're just there to love and accept every person that walks through those doors for exactly who they are and where they are in their life, oh my gosh, it is like that is a movement in itself, and people feel that. And it's not just about me at all. Oh my gosh, Buddha Bella's staff, the team that we've created together, my right-hand man, Katie, I truly believe that I couldn't function. That business wouldn't function without her. Kai and Sarah, AJ, my marketing director, we are such, it's such a natural synergy that we have. And they understand my vision of acceptance, of no judgment, of allowing people, making Buddha Bella a platform where people can have their artistic expression of who they are, their quirkiness, their cuteness, their wildness, whatever they are, and to show up on the mat, do this work, and then be and feel like they are seen and heard in this community. And it's just, honestly, Renee, it's growing in a way that feels magical. And sometimes I have to pinch myself when I look around Sometimes I'll be sitting on the podium and it's the end of class and there's all these beautiful students, all these beautiful souls that, have just worked so hard. And I get so connected to every single person's energy. And I feel like my heart's going to explode from joy and love and the gratitude that I have that these people trust in us, trust in that center to come and experience what they're experiencing in that moment. And every day is different. Every single day is different, right? And energy is different. There's so many variables, right? The planets and what's going on politically and what's going on with everything. Everything is energy, and what our bodies have to endure to just live on this planet. And then have the discipline to do the work, have the discipline to come to, Buddha Bella, roll out your mat and work hard for an hour and 15 minutes. It takes a lot. And I just, I just say thank you for allowing me to be this leader in this community.
How do you find your strength? And what I mean by that is you give, but there has to be a balance of giving back to you.
Isolation. So solitude, and also surrounding myself with the most important thing in my life, which is my family. And, I come from a culture that really promotes family. And when I came to this country, it sort of got diluted a little bit. The family was split up, family in Italy, family here. And so now most of my family is rooted here in Arizona. And that's how I fill my cup. I'm around these people that have known me since I was a little girl and support me and accept me and see me and love me unconditionally as I love them. And, having beautiful meals with friends, family, and just being in that joyful, and of course, there's always something going on, drama, but mostly, yes, it's isolating from, kind of separating myself every once in a while from the community is a must. It's a must. That's the medicine. That's how I have to fill myself back up. And it works. It's a dance. And there's days where you give, and you think, oh my gosh, how did that even happen? How was I able to serve that much? Right. And then you remember that it's not about you. There's a remembering.
Do you see a difference you're a business owner at the end of the day, you have payroll, you have rent, you have all the things.
Yes.
How do you find that having a spiritually based business is different than a restaurant, for example? Still passion driven, but do you find that
the business model is very different as far as that goes. The numbers are different, right? And the cultivating is different, right? Because in a restaurant, the energy is, okay, they come, you're building a relationship at the table, then they leave. This is, and you don't see them again for maybe next week. Maybe you have customers that come once a week. Awesome. They support, beautiful. In the spiritual businesses, it's these people become part of your life. They are literally your tribe. And to hold that boundary of this is still a business sometimes gets a little blurry for me.
I can see that.
I would give yoga free to everybody. Everyone is becoming my friend, my family. Every student that walks through that door, I'm creating relationships, a relationship where the relay, I'm literally, having this exchange of energy. And then it's like, whoa, now I have to ask for money. And it's just it feels different, right? And so as a business owner, because of who I am, had to build a strong team to sort of support that for me, because they started to see, it's like, oh, just give her the month for free.
Right.
And they were like, Deb, we have payroll.
They're your bumper guards, your rails.
And you have to know thyself, right? You have to know yourself I don't consider it a weakness. I consider it part of my persona. My generosity is my love language. My wanting everyone to feel special is my love language. I want everyone to feel loved. So when it comes to the business, I saw that in me, and I was like, whoa, okay, you're right. You know, having my meetings with my team, and they're like, Deb, listen, let us handle that part.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be at the front desk
I love
anymore.
that.
You know, don't be at the front desk anymore.
Katie.
Katie and AJ are like, you're not allowed at the front desk. So it works. It works. And, you know, Renee, it's the spiritual community is, we're all spiritual. You know, the restaurant's a spiritual community if you want it to be. And, you know, at the end of the day, I just want to grow this. I want to reach as many people as I can
Mm-hmm.
to help and to share these teachings so people can implement them in their mundane moments, in their everyday moments, to be more mindful, to be more loving, to be more kind. And that's it. Really, that's truly it.
I agree. I want to kind of lean in on that, though, as we kind of wrap this up.
Mhm.
The term spiritual awakening, right, means a lot of things to a lot of different people. You know, some people wake up and ding, here it is, or you have a tragedy, or there's a defining moment. And some people, it's just an evolution, right?
I love that.
I've been studying Vedic astrology, as you know, for several months now. I'm fascinated by
Such
it.
a complex study.
And that will be another topic for another day. But as I've learned more about the age of Aquarius, it's not just a song from the 60s, right?
The Aquarian age.
It truly is a powerful time. And when you think about AI and the power of AI, I believe will really change the definition of what it means to be human. And when you bring that in with the age of Aquarius, I mean, I know in the circles that I'm in, not just spiritual, all walks of life, you are seeing such a shift. And even if you're asleep at the wheel, just trying to survive in life right now, you may not see it, but you feel it, and you're grasping for it. Life just can't be this difficult, right? What message would you share with anyone that's listening that's either super evolved or, you know, thinking about it but not knowing how to get started? What words of wisdom do you share when you see people scratching their head going, what is a spiritual awakening?
Yeah.
It's a big question, I know.
Yeah, the spiritual awakening for me, in my words, is becoming honest.
Love that.
You know, just becoming honest with yourself and with people. And when you have that transparency, God comes in. And, you know, don't take life so seriously. And keep up. You know, never give up on yourself, because you can give up on people, but you can't give up on yourself. You really can't. To love yourself unconditionally. And it's not about having a spiritual awakening. It's about master being a really good human. That's the spiritual awakening. You know, being a human is a gift. We are alchemizing with, you talk about AI, there's so much more happening. We are becoming so realized. The code, I mean, we could go down a rabbit hole, girl, but, you know, there's codes that are coming in through the fields, and this human experience is only going to get more and more magical. We have forgotten, so this is the remembering. And my advice,
I just got chills.
And my advice and my suggestion to people is to eat healthy food, simple, don't overcomplicate things. You know, try not to consume too much. Be in love with everything you do. You know, let anger be a second, and then forgive. You know, don't sit with negativity too long. We're going to experience negativity, right?
Sure.
We're here. We're in this 3D existence, but we've arrived to where we can make conscious choices.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you believe you're in a spiritual awakening or not, the collective is awakening.
Mm-hmm.
So it's inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it.
Hmm.
I love you.
I love that. Thank you so much, Deb.
Thanks,
I know how
Renee.
busy you are, and I know
Oh,
how in demand
I told
you
you
are.
always to serve you anything.
Oh, I
Anything.
appreciate this.
And I'm so proud of you for embarking on such, gosh, you already are, but this is going to be, whoa. I see it already. I'm so proud of you. And I don't forget about the little people when you become famous.
Nope, never.
You're going to be like an Aubrey Marcus.
No.
Yes.
I'm crawling before
infinite
I
possibilities.
Run. I believe
Infinite
in that.
possibilities.
I believe
Yes.
in that. But I mean, just to close on, I
Yes.
guess, a little more vulnerability on my side. I mean, you know, I am redefining myself, and you know, there's a lot of fear. And you know, today I launched my first episode of this podcast.
Congrats.
And
Congrats.
you know, I've had so many people say, I could never do, you know, you're so courageous, all this stuff. There's a voice inside my head that has challenged me along this way, right?
Of
the
course.
Journey. And the beauty of getting super uncomfortable is, to your point earlier, you just don't take things so seriously.
Yeah.
And I had to sit in it, and it's going to still be
like
challenging.
we were talking about coming in here, before we came in here. We can talk ourselves out of so many beautiful things.
Right.
And it's like, you're talking yourself out of having an incredible moment. Just do it. And yeah, it might be uncomfortable. And yeah, we might screw up. But what does that even mean?
Right.
And what's wrong with screwing up?
Right.
We're human. And and it's funny and sometimes not so funny and graceful and sometimes not so graceful. But that's all of what makes us who we are. And
yes,
we can't hide anymore. We can't hide parts of ourselves anymore.
Yes.
There is no hiding. What are you hiding from?
Right.
Be here now, enjoy this life, and that's it. And have gratitude.
Yes.
Sana.
I am grateful for you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. It was an honor.
Thank you.
I love you.
Love you too.
I'll see you in class.
Shoo.